The Tennessee Volunteers travel this Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs in an SEC matchup where Tennessee, quite frankly, is looking to keep their foot on the gas while the defense is trying to find some rhythm in the secondary. I'm your host, Josh Andrews, and this is the Big Orange Turf Talk. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and hey, leave that thumbs up. It really helps my channel grow, and it also allows me to bring you more content weekly on the Tennessee Vols. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at watching this video. I'm Josh Andrews, and this is the Big Orange Turf Talk. Hope everybody's had a wonderful day. We're going to be discussing today, obviously, the matchup this weekend against the Tennessee Volunteers and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We've got a few things and key factors that we're going to point out in the video today. Mainly, three things that I have are the defensive needs for the Tennessee Vols. Talking more about the Tennessee's defense and their secondary, and what we need to do to ensure that we get the pressure that we need to get on the Mississippi State offense in order for us to succeed on the defensive side of the ball. Second thing we're going to talk about today's show is just continuing to keep the foot on the gas for the offense. Definitely going to need to dial up those plays, the deep ball. But I think most of all, and most importantly, we're going to need to really focus on that run game. And the last thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is going to be the prediction and bets. This is going to be the prediction show. I'll give you my take on who I think is going to win the game, and I will also give you my bets for this weekend. We're going to get into the matchup today. Looking first at the matchup predictor by ESPN. They give Tennessee a 73.7% chance of beating the Bulldogs this weekend. I do believe that Tennessee definitely should win this game. However, don't underestimate Mississippi State. They are a really solid team that have played not the best of opponents this season so far, but they do have the win over Arizona State, which at the time was a top 15 team, and I do believe can still go on to potentially make it to the college football playoffs. So with that being said, they're led by Blake Shapen, the quarterback for Mississippi State, who has 884 passing yards on the season. However, he's got a 67% completion rate. So he's thrown 67 out of 100 attempts this year. And he's averaging about 8.8 yards per attempt, which truthfully to me is a little bit scary. And the reason that I say that is I have concerns about our secondary on the defensive side of the ball, specifically at the cornerback position. Obviously, we all know this is no surprise with the injuries to Gibson and the injuries to McCoy. We're having to rely on Colton Hood and Ty Redmond to really step up their game for the Vols and give it their best shot every Saturday, start to finish. With that said, Tennessee on defense has not been bad this year as a whole. However, the passing game or the passing defense has not been up to par to what it should be, regardless of if we have secondary corners in or are starting corners in. We still need to play a better game altogether and all around to be able to assist in our secondary. Our defense, though, not terrible stats. We have 15 total sacks on the season with 3 interceptions on the season. So playing pretty good when it comes to the up front in our line. Definitely getting pressure on the ball and forcing quarterbacks into bad situations, and then forcing sacks and tackles for loss in the backfield. With that said, there's also 3 things that I personally have in mind that I think we as a team and specifically as a defense need to do this weekend in order to actually dominate Mississippi State's offense, for lack of a better term. The first thing that I personally have up here is pressure. I think that pressure is key to the victory this Saturday, and the reason I say that is Mississippi State's quarterback, yes, he's good, Blake Shapen. He's got the ability to really pick you apart. However, although he does have mobility and he is somewhat of an all-around quarterback, he's not your major mobile quarterbacks that we've seen of the past. He's very much so wants to sit in the pocket, wants to throw the ball when he has the ability to throw the ball. He's trying to pick your zone defense apart. That's what he's best at. With that said, our defensive line up front has the ability to outmatch this Mississippi State offense. They really are not the best offense in the league. I think Shapen has been sacked for 6 times this year, which means that their offensive line definitely has vulnerabilities. And I think that Tennessee is a perfect matchup to be able to really dial in a lockdown defensive front game. The next thing, and that leads into that point, is 3rd and long. I think that Tennessee really needs to work on making sure that Mississippi State gets in 3rd and 6 situations or even longer than that. I think that all starts up front. I think on 1st and 2nd down, we need to make sure that we're putting them in situations where they're only running the ball for 1, maybe 2 yards on 1st down, and the same thing on 2nd down. That puts them in those situations where the playbook isn't really all fully opened up to them. That puts them in a spot where they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to make those difficult decisions, those difficult throws, and that's going to allow our defensive coordinator, Tim Banks, to really dial up some very, very, very good blitzes that we know he has and packages that we know he has in his books that allow Tennessee to really get after that quarterback. I know I've seen several times this year where we have dropped our linebackers back, especially T-Lander and Carter, almost in like a 2-step drop back, and then instantly bang, shoot the A gap, shoot the B gap, and they get in there for the sack or the tackle for loss, or they're able to at least get enough pressure to where we're forcing an incomplete pass or we're forcing an interception down the field. I think that's another thing this week. If we can get some interceptions or some turnovers in general, I think that's going to be a huge, huge favor for us. The last thing defensively that I feel that we need to work on this weekend and really strive after this weekend is actually not the defense. It's the offense. I think our offense, and this has been something since Heupel has came to Tennessee, when our offense is really moving and they're really chugging along, we're fast. And I personally feel that that can hurt our defense. And I think everybody has seen that. It can gas out our defense. Now, don't get me wrong. We have developed talent and we've developed depth on our defensive side of the ball to eliminate some of those problems, but I still think with the injuries that we have, especially in the secondary, that we're depleted. We don't have that depth that we did have, and that's going to cause our guys to get tired. So I think that the offense having longer sustained drives this game will really help our defense get off the field, allow them to give a breather, and get back out there on the field. That's obviously going to lead to a lower scoring game. However, I think our offense and our defense, when they play that way, we may not have a 60-point game, but it allows our defense to really dial in and really hone in on affecting the Mississippi State offense. What do you guys think? I'll tell you what. Tell me down in the comments what you think that we need to improve on to overcome the Bulldogs this weekend. Let me know your thoughts on what you personally feel is the biggest key factor, specifically on the defense, that we need in order for us to take away this W this weekend and get our first SEC victory of the season. So moving into the offensive side of the ball for the Vols, obviously probably not going to talk as much about this because I don't think this is as big of a problem for this game as it is our secondary and our defense, but a couple of things to talk about and to point out with our offense. First off, how do you guys feel about Joey Aguilar? Have you thought that he's been great? Have you thought that he's been mediocre? I personally think he's been great. I think most Vols fans have think that he's been a really good quarterback. I mean, the guy coming into the season, we didn't know what he was going to be. For him to step up and become a leader the way that he has been and show that veteran leadership that he does have has really elevated our offense, I think, to a level that none of us anticipated them being at this season. I'll tell you, I definitely didn't have us going toe-to-toe the way we did with the likes of Georgia. But Joey Aguilar proved me wrong, and I'm going to look for him to prove me wrong the rest of the season as well. Also, what do you guys think, and this is a good question for this Saturday, about offensively, do you feel that we're going to have more passing yards this Saturday or more rushing yards? I'll tell you now, I think that it's going to be the latter of the two. I think our rushing game is really going to shine this Saturday. But either way, regardless, I have 4 key takeaways for the game that I feel we need to do offensively to win this game and to go out there and beat the Bulldogs this Saturday. The first thing I have is obviously Aguilar's accuracy and his continued downfield shots. I think that one thing we have done this year really, really well is gotten the ball downfield in a way that we haven't done since, I would say, 2022 with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. Except this year, I feel that we have more playmakers. I feel that we have the ability to throw that ball and throw that deep shot to not just Brazel, but I think Matthews and I think Staley. I think all three of those guys at any given time can go up, get that ball, come down with it, and get that big touchdown or that big, long, deep shot from Joey Aguilar. I think that that has been such an improvement this year. If you go back and you look at the past 2 years, whether it was with Nico, whether it was with Joe Milton, obviously Joe Milton could throw the ball over a mountain. We know that, but the accuracy was where we were hurting. Nico had a good arm on him, but the accuracy was killing us. I think Joey just throws it different. If you watch the way that Aguilar throws it compared to whether it's Milton or Nico, he puts air under that ball. And to me, that is a crucial point in getting the deep ball out. I feel like the past two quarterbacks we've had really just, almost like line drive, try to get that ball in there and fit it into a position when they didn't really need anything to fit it into. Sometimes you just need to let that ball elevate, let it get up in the air, let it coast its way down, and allow the receiver to really locate that ball in the air before it's ever getting to him, and he can make the play himself. And I think that's what Brazel did over the past weeks. With Joey, is the ball was just able to be spotted in the air. Brazel was able to lock in on it. He was able to be that ball hawk that he is. He was able to use that height that he has, and he was able to make those catches. The next thing I have, though, is a key matchup, I think, in this game that's going to be more interesting than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for. Mississippi State has a cornerback called, his name's Kelly Jones. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be lined up against Brazel. He's their best cornerback on the team. Can Brazel make that separation from this cornerback? He's a really good cornerback. I think he's better than any of the Georgia cornerbacks that they have. So we'll really have to see how Brazel can separate himself from that and make these plays out in the open and make these contested catches the way that he has been this week. I think he's up to the task. I think he's going to be just fine, but it's definitely a matchup to keep an eye on. The next thing is, can our slots continue to stay open in the middle of the field to be able to gash the backfield of Mississippi State? One of the things I've seen this year is us being open in the middle of the field and being able to make a couple of yards and getting those hard yak yards. And I think that's something that we need to continue to see. The slants over the middle, the cross routes over the middle, our tight ends, shooting out on the flats, things like that. The hard yards that we need to be able to get on offense in order to set up those deeper passes. And then the last thing, obviously, and the biggest thing and the most important thing in any of Josh Heupel's offense, regardless what anybody says, is the run game. I think we need to crack at least 150 plus combined yards to win the game, but I do still feel that our running game may actually outdo our passing game this week. I think we have a substantial advantage on the line of scrimmage when it comes to our offensive line versus Mississippi State's defensive line. I think that we have the ability to really get some leverage on them and get some really good push off the ball, which is going to allow us to really, really set up the run game. It's going to obviously lead to us setting up the deep ball, leading us to setting up these end zone touchdowns, these fade routes. But I think it all starts with Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, and Peyton Lewis pushing those hard yards. 4, 5, 6 yards a carry. Set us up on 2nd down and 4, 2nd down and 3, where we can still run it, where we can dial up the whole playbook, where the whole scheme of our offense is open to do whatever we want to do. I think if you take those 4 key points and those get applied in this game, I don't think that there's anybody that's going to beat us. I don't think there's anybody on the Mississippi State defense that's going to make us lay down. I just think that skill level, talent-wise, overall, we just have a better grit. We have a better ability. I think that we're going to push that ball downfield. I really think that our offense is going to shine this week and continue to show us that whole mantra that I said at the beginning of the show of keeping our foot on the gas. That's something I definitely want to see about us, is once we get a lead, don't back down. We were up 21-0 on Georgia. I felt like we backed down a little bit. Let's get up on the Bulldogs and let's keep pushing. Don't take the foot off the gas. Push that thing down. Take it to 110. Get down the field and get more points. Now, for probably the favorite part of the show for a lot of people, the predictions and the bets. I'm going to start by just saying, obviously, my prediction for the game is that the Vols will win it. The score I've got is 38-21 Tennessee. And I do have a couple of things that I think are going to happen in the game. They're not necessarily bets, but predictions per se on what I think may happen in the game. The first thing is I think Colton Hood gets his first interception of the season this Saturday. I think he's going to have a really good game. He's going to play lights out. The ball's going to get thrown a lot by the Bulldogs. I think Hood is going to really shine and get that interception. A couple things I got for you guys, though, before we get into the bets. Who do you think is going to shine in the game the most? I personally think defensive side, obviously, I just said Colton Hood. I think he's going to have his first interception. I think he's going to shine. I think also on the defense, I think we're going to be looking really for T-Lander. I think they're going to dial up a lot of pressures, a lot of blitzes, a lot of just gap schemes to allow T-Lander to really get into the backfield and do a lot this game. I think you're going to see him at least record one sack and possibly multiple tackles for losses. But that's my expectation on the defensive side. I think Hood and T-Lander are both going to have a really good game. Offensive side, I'm actually going to go with Staley. I think he's going to have a breakout game. I think, with the hype around Brazel and the film around Brazel, Brazel's going to possibly have some moments in the game where he's going to be locked down, whether it's because he's double covered or whatever the case is. And I really think that's going to be where Staley's going to shine. I also think Mike Matthews is going to have a position there to where he's going to be able to let himself shine too. The good news is, though, with us having three receivers that can all do whatever they want at any given time, it's going to be hard for that Mississippi State defense to stop all of them. So, personally, I look forward to Staley having a really good game, but also keep an eye out for Mike Matthews to have that game as well. Last thing here, guys, is the bets. Obviously, I've predicted the Vols to win. I'm actually going to take Tennessee to cover. The spread, as of right now, is 7.5. When it opened, it was at 9.5. The over actually has went up a little bit over the past day. It was sitting at 61.5, I think, last night. It's now sitting at 63.5, and the money line has actually moved as well in Tennessee's favor. It's a minus 300 for Tennessee to win and a plus 250 for Mississippi State Bulldogs to win. That's obviously through the ESPN Bets Sportsbook. But yeah, my bet this weekend is definitely going to be for the Tennessee Volunteers to take the 7.5. The over-under I'm a little bit more scared about. I know I have the final score being 38-21. That is under the projected total. I just don't see Tennessee needing to score more than 40 to beat Mississippi State. And I think that our defense is going to handle business on their side of the ball. And I really do feel like our offense is going to sustain some long drives. So I'm going to, if I had to go over-under, I would pick the under. But as always, Tennessee is unpredictable sometimes with how many points they can score. So, and we all know that. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the spread, the minus 7.5. And that's going to be my bets and my predictions for the game. I want to take a moment to really give you guys a big thank you for tuning into today's episode where we discuss Tennessee Volunteers versus the Mississippi State Bulldogs coming up this weekend. I think it's going to be a really good game in Starkville, but I think Tennessee's going to come out with the win. And listen, on a real note, we don't need to hear the cowbells ringing all day. So Tennessee, please go in there in the first and second quarter, get some touchdowns, get some points. That way that we ain't got to listen to the TV and hear the bells a churning all day. I'd much rather go back home singing Rocky Top, going to Knoxville, than listening to those things any day of the week. Leave a comment down below, guys, with what you guys think is going to happen in the game this weekend, who you think is going to get a touchdown, and what you think your prediction is going to be for this final score of the game. As always, I'm Josh Andrews. You're listening to Big Orange Turf Talk. Once again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed the content that you saw today. It's absolutely free, and it does nothing but help me grow my channel and allows me to bring you more weekly content about the Tennessee Volunteers. Have a wonderful day, and go Big Orange.